Hello and welcome to the Slackware vlog. This is season 3, episode 22. And I'm Stuart Winter, the platform architect and developer, or one of the developers for Slackware on the ARM platform. And the other one is Brent Earle, who is with us again today. Hello, Brent.
Hello.
Right, I know how you're doing, so I'm not going to ask. So, because we've just been talking for an hour, getting some stuff sorted out. So since we last spoke, which really actually was literally a couple of days ago, we've made, well, Brent has, and with myself a little bit in the background, making some, I think, significant progress on the HoneyComb LX2 integration. So okay, so let me just bring this up here. So yeah, so what I've done is collected together here some of the notes so that we're both literally on the same page as to what as kind of how the workflow looks and what we've done so far and what needs to be done. So the idea with the HoneyComb is that the workflow. Oh, I suppose I should really introduce the podcast, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
So which is because we have really been talking for an hour just setting something up, so I can log into Brent's HoneyComb remotely and play around with it, and because I haven't got my own yet. Yeah, this is the Slackware ARM vlog. We are talking about really anything to do with Slackware on the ARM and ARM64 or AArch64 platform, as it's called. And in this episode, this is another Slackathon. It's like a hackathon, but it's on Slackware, so we call it Slackathon. We are going to be talking about, well, basically Brent and I are just going to continue working on the HoneyComb LX2 direct integration into Slackware, which basically means having a sort of fully out-of-the-box experience for Slackware on the HoneyComb LX2. So you'll be able to install it using the Slackware installer and boot it, and everything will be just, it'll just work. So that's the idea. And so we've already been working on it, and we just want to, it's easier to talk through than it is to keep typing on IRC. So today, and I've got some stuff that I want to figure out without constantly asking Brent to type things in and then waiting while he does that and then coming back. It's a lot faster to just do it like this. So that's what we're going to be doing in this episode today. So just to walk through how it's going to work. So the idea is that the users will download the SD card image like you do for the other three hardware models, the Raspberry Pi, Pinebook Pro, blah, blah, blah. They'll boot the Slackware installer off of the SD card on the HoneyComb. And then the idea that the integration, or rather the installation path, will be that, well, at least that's what we'll suggest, is that you'll install onto an NVMe or onto an SSD drive that's connected to one of the many SATA ports on the HoneyComb, and you'll install the OS and any other partitions or whatever you want to do onto that SSD. And the installation will be the same as all of the other hardware models, so standard stuff. And then the Slackware installer will deploy the grub bootloader onto an EFI partition that the user will create at the start, onto which is on the SSD. Once the install is done, they can unplug the SD, or rather remove the SD card from the HoneyComb, and then configure the HoneyComb to boot from the SSD, and that's it. So there's we're not going to be keeping the SD card as part of the OS like we do on the other hardware models. So the SD card will not be required on the HoneyComb. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Cool. So right, so there's a few things. So I'll just briefly show you what I've done. So what I've done from the stuff that you sent me the other day. Where were we? Well, let's start with the easy stuff first. So platform AArch64, SRC Ooh,
Bootware.
bootware. SRC. So right, so the platform AArch64 LX. Okay, so I have. This is probably a bit too. Okay, so SD card. So I've merged in the SD cards build functions script that you gave me. I've just tidied it up a bit as well. I've removed some of the sort of commented out functions that we didn't really need in this one, because this isn't really going to be a reference. Well, actually, I suppose it will be in some respects. It'll be a reference for a grub version, you know, a grub and EFI. Actually, that's a good point. I should probably put in here that it's going to be to be used as a reference for hardware models with EFI.
Yeah, because a lot of the boards do have support for UFI, but the developers are just using U-boot instead.
Okay.
Not like required, but.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, so I've just tidied it up a bit and replaced, because here you'd had it so that the partition, the ext4 partition file system was going to consume the rest of the space, which wouldn't leave any space for the AIO partition where the Slackware packages will live. So I reduced it down to 500 megs, which is probably still far in excess to from what we actually need, because there's really only isn't it basically just a grub config file on here at the moment?
No, that's where the kernel and the RAM disk are located.
Ah, okay. So 500 megs is probably 300.
Yeah.
400, 500. Because the installer itself is about 300 something megs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 377, and then the kernel is it's another.
I think it's like, let's see.
I might expand that slightly then in that case, actually, because it saves me. I'll tell you what, that might just make it. Well, I'll make it 800 megs. That'll do. It's really probably a little bit wasteful, but it means that in the future I don't need to worry about this. Won't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So there'll be space for. Oh, how big have you actually made the image? Have you changed the?
I'm just using the default 4 gigabytes. Yeah.
Oh, then okay, that's perfect. That's fine then. That's fine. Because yeah, cool. So that'll be 800 megs for that. There's more than enough for everything, including some extra firmware that we might put on it at some point. I should probably also put the partition layout in here. That's on the. Well, I'm not going to do that on this call though. I might do that later. So I've merged that in. I've just tidied it up a little bit. We've got that in there. We've got that. What's this platform? Oh, okay, yeah. So you copy the assets. That's fine. Blah blah blah. These are labeled as we discussed.
Yeah.
IRC. That's fine. That's fine. Cool. Oh, tell you what I'm going to do though. I'm going to correct that. Kind of that. Right. Okay. Cool. All right. That's fine. So I've merged that in. That's the same as what you gave me, apart from it's just tidied up a bit. And then the assets is I've copied the. Oh, but this is just for the installer, so that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, I'm going to change. Okay, hang on. Where is it? let's just make this match because I wanted to change that. Just want that to. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted that to be in brackets. Ah, no, don't do whatever that is. Oh yes, this is XFCE with its. It's quite handy actually.
What is it?
Oh, it just tells you that you're about to paste loads of stuff into the into a terminal, so you can avoid destroying something. It's quite helpful actually.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I just wanted to put that brackets. Other than that, that was it. Okay, so this is the installer. I might just note what this actually is. So this is, oh yeah, that's contained within here. I like to put these notes in here because it helps in the future, particularly with other people who want to do become hardware custodians, hardware model custodians.
Yeah.
It helps me as well. But I tell you what, you know, I was off caffeine for a week for a couple of health reasons, and I just decided it was a bad idea to have it. I had something done to check today, and everything was okay. So I was like, okay, I'll give myself a coffee, and I feel like a normal human being again. I was actually mentally impaired before. I could notice that, like, I could feel like I was running on on a couple of cylinders less.
Headache and shakiness and.
Oh no, I didn't have that much coffee. No, no, I was all right. I don't tend to do headaches, but I definitely noticed that there was like my ability to focus wasn't as immediately accessible as it was with caffeine. Right, so that's fine. Okay, perfect. So right. So yeah, so I've merged in your grub config. I haven't changed anything apart from what you literally just saw me change there.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I want to change anything. It looks all good to me.
No.
SLK. Yeah. So basically, this is just telling grub find the file system labeled SLK ints boot, and then boot the kernel. Blah blah blah. I don't know if you need early print K. That's something I got from the Tegra 20, the Compilab trim slice stuff years ago, but we can leave it in anyway if it works. Can't even remember what it does. I think it's something to do with debugging, that it enables really early debugging in the kernel if the, I don't know, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's leave that. If it works, let's leave it. It's in it's in the Rock Pro 64's config as well, isn't it, actually?
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
Okay. Cool. Right. So that's right. So I've merged those two in. The build functions is done. Oh, yes, I know. It's going to complain about a dot. And great. So the SD card stuff should be, I think, complete. I don't think there's anything else that you actually need. I've merged, not U-boot, SD cards.build. I've merged in this here. I put this condition around it, or then I realized you probably wouldn't actually bother anyway for you, because you're probably not going to, whilst you're building these before I do, you're probably going to comment everything out anyway. Anyway, but I've merged that in ready for later, and I've also changed this here so that it just puts grub, because in the future, maybe if it makes any sense, maybe I'll change the way that the SD card build script works so that it can handle different bootloaders, but there's no point at the moment. But
Yeah.
because you've overridden the function, so it's complete. It's a no op basically.
Yeah.
So that's all done for the SD card build, I think, isn't it? We've got everything there. That's done on that side, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
It looks good.
And then,
Yeah.
okay, so then we go into the installer, which is where we already are. What have I done in the installer? Oh yeah, okay. So let's start with the easy stuff. Pending, is it called pending upstream? Yeah. So what I've done here on the installer is I've changed. I've added some more reserved labels and deleted the previous ones while we were figuring it out. So I've wiped anything that's now superfluous. So it's all of the labels are actually going to be in use. So we've got SLK ints EFI, which is the Slackware installer's SD card images. What is on there again? Is it just the well, what exactly is in there?
It's whatever Grub installs into it, which is just like an EFI firmware. It's like a chain load similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is way too big.
You can't actually like name it anything. I looked up, and it just kind of defaults to Slackware 15 plus or whatever. So.
Oops. Okay. I might, in that case, I might just make a note of that because I kept forgetting what it was. Well, actually, I never really understood what it was, to be fair. That's why I was like, oh no, I did because I saw the code. I never. Oh, because when I worked on the AIO stuff for x86, I used Grub to install something, and then I was like, okay, it's what Grub installs. So I'll just make a note of that.
Yeah. And eventually, it'll remove the plus and just be whatever version of Slackware it's running on within the boot EFI directory. That makes sense. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Whoa! So my VM is so slow. Hard stop build. Holy Moses! I need to slow down and type more accurately because it's so slow that it's actually faster to get it right first time. Which is called from. Okay. Right. Yeah, that's correct, right? Isn't it? What I've just written there.
Yes.
Yeah,
is.
perfect. Okay. This I'll have to. Probably not really the right place to put all this, but whatever.
Yeah, this all seems really complicated, but if you compare it to the U-boot stuff that I was working on based on like what the vendor SolidRun's using, it becomes infinitely more complicated. And you're not using a source from kernel.org, you're using, and same thing with the U-boot and all the different components.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, this now I've understood it. We've talked about it a bit. I understand what's going on here, so it's good. I was just thinking I'll probably at some point I'll have to put this stuff, all of this information in on the wiki, I think. But at the moment I'm just capturing it in here. Patrick hasn't complained so far that I've merged all this stuff in here. But anyway, so I've changed. So yeah, I've removed the other labels and just put. So we're filtering out these labels here. So SLK, EFI, and ints EFI and ints boot. So that's all good. So basically, this probe script is what's used in the Slackware installer to populate the list of file system candidates that you pick from the menu once you've just prior to installing Slackware. So you get to choose which file systems to use as root and then which to mount as other file systems. And this script basically detects or discovers what's on the file system, or rather discovers all of the partitions on the system. And then at the bottom here, we're filtering out file systems that are for Slackware, ARM, and AArch64, where they're reserved In this case, they're for the installer and some other stuff as well. Otherwise, you get offered them as candidates for installation and you basically break the installer. So that's what this does here. Good, so that's done. The probe script is done. Once we've got this working, I'll push that back up to Patrick, but I won't do it until we've got everything working. And then the other thing I've done is HWM platform AArch64 installer assets LX. Right, and then on this one, so this is your post installation config file that you gave me, but I've added most of the blurb from the Linux config so that it explains all of the additional boot parameters that you can add to the where would they go?
Right there. Yeah.
So yeah, other than that, and that's all I've changed apart from I put this in square brackets like any other one. But yeah, that's it. So I've merged that in. So that's that done. And like you said, there's literally. Oh, so you mentioned before about perhaps putting this in /etc/grub. So I didn't really follow what you'd said about that.
So if you look in etc grub.d, it's a directory. There's some configuration files for grub that are used when you make config the grub configuration file, which is in boot grub. So yeah, and what I was doing several months ago was just copying it into, I think, 4.1 or 4.0 custom within that directory, just like adding it into the end of the file. And then grub make config would just make the menu entry. Look in 4.1 custom. So you can see I put it at the very end of that menu. All these are like different options to make menu entries
Okay, but then
so either 4.0 or 4.1, I forget which one I was using. Yeah, that's the one I was using. Yeah. And then you can run grub-make-config-o and then point it where you want your configuration file on boot. And I think on a very early version, I was just removing most of those and just putting in the one configuration file. Because my biggest concern is somebody's going to run grub make config and they're going to overwrite the bootloader config, and it's not stored anywhere right now. It's just put on the boot partition. So yeah, that was the issue I was running into, and I haven't really researched how to use grub to generate the configuration file yet. So that's part of the problem.
Oh, right. Okay. So, right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I understand what you're saying. So, okay. But you wouldn't need to run grub install again anyway, right?
No, I'm talking about when they run grub-make config. That will alter the configuration file, and there's no reason to run it anymore because the file should be static. It shouldn't change anymore after you've installed. It'll just find slack root and just keep booting everything, no matter what version kernel. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a static. There's nothing in here to change.
Yeah, so that's why I was deleting all those files just in case somebody wanted to mess up their grub configuration file by running that.
Okay.
But that's where I'm at now, trying to figure out what to do with that.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so these menu entries, this was created by you working with the grub tool, and then
I was booting into grub and editing at the grub command line before booting the operating system.
Okay.
And it was a lot of trial and error.
Okay. Okay. I mean, at the moment, then what we can do, we could just put in the documentation, don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, because this is ARM, it's not the same as x86. We don't need to do certain things. So if
Can mark grub make config -x remove the executable bit.
Hang on, what is it called? Grub what? Oh, MK config.
MK config.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a symlink? Oh no, it's actually a separate. What is this? Ah, okay. What is this then? Okay. Create by inspecting /boot contents.
Yeah, and I think it looks for VM Linux and based on what is used in x86 and stuff. So, and our kernel is image-rmv8. So I think I might just be missing it.
Do you know, to be honest, like sometimes you know, given that this is actually a shell script, I would be tempted to just rebuild the grub. I'm not going to do it now because it's just a complete hack, but it maybe in the future I can rebuild the grub package and just put, you know, insert with sed something at the top of this and says do not use this script.
Yeah.
Or because it will
true.
break, it's unnecessary and it'll break your config file. But
that's true. Yeah.
You know, that's another option. But at the moment, let's tell what. I'll tell you what. I'll make a note of that. I'll stick it in the change log actually. Did that. Oh, the builders. What was it called? Grub mk config.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've done on say, what's the thing, mk init rd or something like that.
Yeah.
I did something like that, and I think it tells you. Is it something like that? It's not implemented on ARM, yeah. So I patched mk init rd to, because it's just not what we do on ARM. So I could do the same thing there, but also if you could make it work with the tool, then that would be better. But is it really worth it? Possibly not.
You don't need it because you're not going to, well, most people won't be changing the partition label, and all it does is search there.
Okay. I might, then perhaps I'll do something like that then.
Yeah, and even if they create a separate boot partition, it should still find it. I think anyway. Oh no, it won't. That's the issue. Yeah, it won't. So yeah, we got to make a note of that in the install docs. Don't change it and stuff. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you made some other partitions, you still want the grub it should be static, right? If you want to change it, just go and change it in a config file. That's what I always did when I had grub machines with grub in, like when I worked for Red Hat, like, 20 years ago. I just go and edit the config file and change it, and that was it. Did it manually.
Yeah, and see, that's what I'm working from. I used to deal with grub when I was an admin for CentOS.
Yeah. Okay.
At this job, and that was so long ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it was just grub 1.
Oh. Right. Okay. So I've made a note of that. I'll add that into the wiki doc in a bit myself. I'll stick that at the top. Right. So anyway, so other than that, we've got the grub config file that we can use. So then the only thing that needs to be written would be the helper script. So there'd be something. What is it here? Yeah, so something like what does the RPI one do? Forgotten. Is it something to do with sets?
It just puts,
it deletes the flattened device tree stamp thingy from there. Adds a mob probe config file. Ooh. What did I do that for? Oh, that was that some test, wasn't it? So going off, just really curious now what I did that for. I think it's commented out if I remember rightly. What was that for? Oh yeah, not in use. What was it? What was it going to be used for? Oh yes, I got to remember. Yeah, someone had problems rebooting the Raspberry Pi, and I thought it was to do with KVM, and it wasn't. But that was my blacklist approach. I left it in as a reference. Yeah. So basically, the yeah. So in terms of grub, there needs to be a shell script written. You didn't write one yet, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah. So there needs to be a plugin, a shell script like does something like this, which you can basically use as a reference, which pretty much just deploys the grub config into /boot/grub on the OS, and then do you still need to run grub install from the from inside the OS? I guess you do, right? Yes, you do.
You do, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and you could probably just take what's in the build script, the SD card build script, and that should be enough. Yeah.
Okay. Does this do chroot? Probably doesn't, does it? No. But anyway, chroot's easy enough to do. Well, we can work on that together if you want. That's pretty easy. Yeah. What else is there? So there's the helper that needs to be done. Oh yes, and then the and then xzcat installer. And then where is it? User libs setup / so this is the set EFI. Yeah, so this is the set EFI script. That's the one that's in Slackware, the normal one, where which discovers the EFI partitions, and then what does it do? Does it format it or something like that?
It finds it and formats it.
So this already works, but the thing here, right? So this is where we are. So this, according to what it says here, is that there's a standard. The specification states that an EFI system partition should have a GUID of this. So every EFI system partition in the world should have this GUID on it. Although in your case, I think the HoneyComb boots without that setting, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it does.
From your
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
So does this actually work though on your HoneyComb? Does it offer? Does this dialogue and all this business get?
It does, yeah.
It works.
It doesn't. It doesn't have a UUID or GUID or anything. So
okay, it just works anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
So and it finds the correct one. It finds the correct EFI partition on the SSD, not on the SD card.
Yeah, it finds it on the SATA. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So what I wanted to do for belts and braces is to. So this is your HoneyComb. So I've got root on Brent's HoneyComb now because I haven't got my own. So what I wanted to do though for belts and braces, because sometimes things can change, and it could be that this script, because it doesn't do any sanity checking, it even says in the script that it just picks the first one in the list, which isn't necessarily the right one, although it is in your case because it's worked so far. But things can change, and it might be that it ends up writing it to the installer's EFI partition, which would render an unbootable machine.
Yes.
So what I wanted to do, I wanted to filter out in the same way as we filter the SLK, the Slackware ARM reserved partitions. I want to filter them out of here, but because I don't have a system with EFI on it, I wanted to see what this looks like. Okay, so what do you have here then? So what's this actually?
SDC is the root disk right now. It changes every time I reboot the block devices.
I'm
Which
so
is
glad I put labeling in because I thought it was a Raspberry Pi issue, to be honest with you.
no.
So I never had that issue on 32-bit ARM ever. And I was like, the Raspberry Pi, yet another problem with this beep piece of
It's
hardware.
funny. SDA and SDV are the RAID, but I don't have anything else on the flash memory or anything.
Okay.
So,
but I'm glad that I'm glad the Raspberry Pi caused me to integrate labeling support into the installer, because everything would have broken anyway on the other hardware models, wouldn't it? Otherwise.
yeah.
So but also, okay, so this is looking for this and the OS type. So you should have. Where's the? But what? Okay, so it's grepping for. I don't know why it's grepping for the OS type, because it's not actually listing that in LS block. It's never going to find it. So that's kind of superfluous. Okay, so what I wanted to do on armed.slack, which I don't have open anymore. Or do I? Oh yeah, I do actually. So what I had on here, part type. Come back. So I had name label. Oh yeah, all right. So all I wanted to do was just to ensure that I didn't break anything when I add the labels in. But how does this know? But hold on though, how does this know? How does this work then if it doesn't find? Hang on, let's just run this script. Do you have this script stored anywhere? This EFI one that I put onto armed Slack? If not, it doesn't matter. I'll just paste it in. So do you like this?
Yeah, data/private is the ARM64 data private Slackware AArch64 source and an installer, I believe.
Oh, hang on. What? It doesn't like me pasting between VirtualBox and here. So what did you say? What did you say it was?
Data/private underscore and just hit tab. No, capital private.
Oh.
All caps. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And just source installer, I believe. I think that's where you keep it.
Oh no. No. This is something I just put on armed.slack.
Oh. Well.
Okay.
Don't have it yet.
So I just need to
just SCP it. Or
oh yeah, please. I can't paste it between. It's quite annoying actually.
Yeah, just do SFTP.
Tell you what I'll do, Brent. There are easier ways of doing this.
Easier ways.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I've got all this. There we go. Okay. Cool. Oh, I thought I'd made a directory.
Oh, wget, yes.
Yeah. What?
Error not found.
What are you talking about?
Error not found.
About? Oh, have I done something silly? I might have done.
Wrong directory, maybe.
think so. What? Oh, yeah, of course. So what am I doing? Data. Okay. Right, got it. Okay, there we go. Right, so this is what I wanted to see. So, yeah, if I do, let's paste that in there. Right, if I do that and then just grep for that, what does it come up with? Oh, yeah, I know. Go away. Right, so it finds.
Yeah, it finds the partition UUID, which is what I dropped into FS tab.
Okay, so this is.
Yeah.
Right, so you, okay, I didn't realize. So okay. Spock. Right. So it's this one here. Okay, so it does. So okay, did you didn't label this yourself? Sorry, you didn't create the partition with this label, this partition type, or this?
No, it just picked it. It just was there. If you look in FS tab, it's the same thing. Yeah. I put it there because it was having trouble finding it otherwise without that entered in there.
MKFS fat. How does it? How does it get labeled? How does it end up with that? How does it actually acquire this, though? Where does it? How does it? I'm confused. How does it? How is that acquired? Okay. Because I don't see it here anywhere.
There's probably something. There we go. In fdisk, GUID partition table. Doesn't mention anything about that ID though.
Hold on. Okay. It doesn't really matter too much at the moment. I'm just curious to know. So part UUID. Okay.
Yeah.
We could actually change that in the installer. I'd suggest that we do as well. We can change it to a label because it's going to get labeled.
Yeah.
In the post installer script, it will. Well, actually, no, let's not change it because if anything in Slackware ever refers to it, it's better to leave it as it is. Okay. Yeah, let's not label it at the moment.
Yeah, because that's static. It doesn't change.
No, exactly. It doesn't change. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So all I really wanted to know is I just wanted to get an idea of what this stuff looks like so that when I filter out the labels, I don't break anything. So if I put on the end of here, comma, label. Ooh.
It's not labeled right now.
Ah, right. That's why then. Oh, let's look. But you should have some stuff labeled. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yep.
So, right. Because I want to make sure that it filters. Because okay. So, if you are you able to reinsert the SD card into the Slackware installer SD card into? Oh, you already do, don't you?
It's not in there right now. I can.
Are you able to reinsert it so I can? Because I want to see the SLK EFI partition label pop up.
Yeah, I can go do that real quick.
Does it mean walking up the stairs?
Yes, it does.
I appreciate it, Brent.
Yeah, so much energy. I'll be right back.
Right. I wonder if anyone's listening this far into the vlog? If you are, let me know in the comments. Because I could sing a song. I'm not going to, though. No one would ever listen again. Given that I'm not particularly a great karaokeist. Right. I can just talk to myself, I suppose. Right, so label. Okay, so what does this do?
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to find it. We'll see.
It
There it
did.
is. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so if I... Right. Okay. Okay. Aha. Okay. Right. Okay. The reason it's not breaking is because because the EFI partition doesn't have that partition type.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not breaking anyway. And we're presumably never going to set it that type either.
No.
Although I still think maybe we should, though. Although to be fair, there's no point if it boots anyway, is there really? Or the thing is, it would be good to set it to the correct partition type in the from the SD card build function script, because if other systems that are going to use the HoneyComb script as a reference do require the correct partition type, then we really should set it to the correct partition type now to avoid wondering why it doesn't work in the future. Yeah. Which just means, so okay, let me just think, what do I want from this? So if I labeled, actually, how do we change that? I think it's tune to FS that you can set the partition that you can set.
I just open up fdisk usually. Or I could use parted or whatever. Any partitioner, it should do it. I don't know if you can do that live, but
oh well, it's not going to be it's not going to be live because it's I only want to change the one of the EFI of the installer, so it's not actually live. It's not used for it. Whoa! Stop doing that.
What?
This like.
Oh, I was like, what did I do?
No, it was me. I was talking to the computer, not you.
Oh.
Tune to FS, so it should be -U, and then which one is it? It's this one, right? The C12 thing. SP. Yeah, so it should be, although then it's not going to be a GUID, is it? Well, actually, it doesn't matter. It's not a GUID anyway. Tune to FS-U, and then it would be that.
SDC1.
/ No, it's this one here, /dev/.
Yeah.
See if that works. It might. Oh, because it's.
It's not mounted. It does give an error when I. This is what showed up in the console. Let me paste it to you.
Or you can't change.
That shows up on my serial console right now when I plugged it in. So it's something funky with the GPT header.
Okay, I don't know what that is. There's MKS. Okay. Although. Oh, okay. So.
Yeah.
Oh, hold
I had to run into like a million of these situations where I'm like trying to figure out what's the best way to do it.
Okay, here we go. So -I/dev/mmc block 0p1 -n that thing.
It's not valid. Doesn't like it.
Hang on. Let's look at the man page on my own computer. Man mlabel. Ah, serial number. Sets the supplied serial number, blah, blah, blah. But, okay. But it's not actually the hold on though. It's not it's a GUID for the GPT. Okay. Okay. I'll tell you what. If I can I just wipe out the file system on this thing and just remake it just so I can change on the installer, I can, because I don't really care about changing this retrospectively.
Yeah, it's just like a removable media right now.
Yeah, it's
so
just
it doesn't matter.
install.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So. Where is it? Oh yeah, I can really notice the difference having more caffeine. Crikey! It's like night and day. Good God! You know what I read about this article years ago that said that if humans hadn't discovered caffeine, or rather, I should put more simply, once humans discovered caffeine, industrialization really took off. Can you imagine everyone was lolling around, it's like caffeine. Oh my God, we can do things.
What did people do before that?
But they just lounged around, and then they discovered caffeine and realized that they could acquire significantly more focus than previously. So
doing the leaves.
parthead. Okay, actually, so hang on. If I do, but that's that. Yeah. So if I set,
you can change a label from within those same commands. I forget.
It's not.
The syntax is.
Oh.
That's just labeling the partition table right there. You see there's no partition, it's just dev location. So it's creating the partition table.
Oh yes, that's true. It is.
Yeah.
Well, we can do I just want to set the thing. Okay. So MKFS, let's just look at man page for it. Which one is it? VFAT. Oh, where did my SSH window go? Oh, there it is.
I use FAT.
MKFS.fat. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that even have a man page? Oh, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Does it have a GUID? No. Oh God, I've got to find out what it is. Hang on. Right. Partition type. Oh, but it's a. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Now so this is all for any one of you who's actually still listening at this point. This is new to me, so that's why I have not been able to can't do this straight off the bat. So basically, all I want to do, the easy way to figure this out is by doing this. So what is dash? What? But how? So what I still don't get, how is this creating an EFI? Ah, because it's already okay. Yeah. I'm confusing the two different things. So this is actually creating a file system, but the EFI partition is already there. So the question is, how is still how? Okay, let's back up a bit. What is it that created this? What is it that created this EFI partition? Was it you?
Yeah, it was me.
Doing what?
I just go into fdisk and hit G. It writes a GUID partition table, and I make all the partitions, and then I label them afterwards. But I don't know. I'm not really sure how to make it in. Try to get it to have that GUID. So if you look at the message I pasted you in the chat, it's complaining about the GPT table being funky. So I think I'm doing something that it shouldn't be doing, but it still works for some reason.
Okay.
And if you open it up and parted, the MMC BLK0, it'll give you an option to repair it, usually. But it still boots. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. Let's see.
Okay. So, yeah, I just need a command line way to change the GUID, the partition type.
Let's see. To ESP, right?
What does it say in here?
It should be ESP.
Yeah, ESP GUID, yeah.
So you can use parted, set, and the partition. Let's see.
Maybe in the installer, actually, I've got. Where is it here? So you can do. Yeah, the useful stuff in here where you can use the scripted version of parted to do pretty much.
There you go. I think that should work.
Oh, okay. Let's try.
I think that's the right partition. MMC. Yeah, that's it.
Actually, I don't know what. It doesn't tell me what I'm pasting in, so let's not go crazy. Paste. Okay, whatever. I'll just type it in. Parted. Set.
P1.
Hang on. Have I typed?
It may need to be after the partitions. I forget the syntax.
Oh, well. You might need hang on. Oh, let me just see. You probably, if I take it from the installer, the way it's done here, it took me actually quite a while to figure this out when I did this partition resizing stuff in the installer, and I'm not going to be able to do this, am I? Because it's on the wrong screen. Okay, so parted -s -a opt /dev/ oh no, because then it would. No, because that's not the same thing. Hang on. Okay. All right.
Maybe try it like that. I think that's probably the right syntax. The man page says differently, but huh. Is that the right
Yeah,
box?
but I had this the other day, and it's because that where it says partition doesn't exist, it was because you had to put the device yeah, you had to set partition. Yeah, so set.
Maybe
Right.
it's a number of the partition. I don't know.
Yeah, I think yes, it's how I had it in the installer. So I think anyway. So if I do parted dash sa opt slash dev slash mmc block 0, and then set, what was it? Set partition. Which one was it?
Number one.
Number 1. Okay. Set 1 ESP on. Ooh, not all of the space available appears to be used. You can fix. Ooh.
Just open it and part it and let it repair it. It does it automatically. just the whole, yeah.
Is it print, isn't it, or something like that?
There you go. I just hit fix.
Ah.
Yeah.
What are you you're actually supposed to type? What are you supposed to
fix.
type?
Just put fix.
You're actually supposed to type fix.
Yeah. There you go. And that's it.
Okay. Hang on though. So, right.
It's a little bit of an issue in the process, but that's what I noticed. I was like, what the heck? I didn't understand how to fix that though. So.
Is that, hold on though. So if I quit, does it actually write anything? That's the question.
It does, yeah. You should be able to look it up in
Okay.
what the commands are using with LSB. Okay.
Okay. So this is all right. So this is the commands. Right. Okay. So let me the fixing thing. So in terms of getting this working, in terms of hold on. Let's just see. Right. Do we have yes? Right. Okay. So that's made that work. So let's just let me save this. I'll stick that in the because so inside of the what we can do here. Go away. It's getting on my nerves now. Right. So in terms of making the for the Slackware installer image, we can include this here. I can sort of add that into the plugin script, and it's just a case of making it automatically fix it without prompting.
Yeah.
So that will be doable, I'm sure. So back to what I was actually trying to do, which was we're getting there though, Brent. What was I actually trying to do? Oh, I know. Yeah. So I wanted to filter out the labels, i.e. this one, from the list. So if I do, what was it? Right. Aha! There we go. Right. So, right. Good. So that's what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to stick that in here. It's probably not the best place for this, actually, but
just don't save it.
Well, I always just stick everything in the change log. It's fine. Actually, you know what? I'll make it so that it doesn't get deleted when I do the. Right. So this is what that looks like. Okay. So I've got my output. Basically, I just need. Oh, go away! My nerves. So right. The only thing is the tabulation is probably busted. So okay, let's do. Right. What's the actual file called again? EFI. Okay, so if I actually run and then pipe it into sed, ls block, then what do we do? Block. Yeah, so all I'm really trying to do is just see what I need to do with sed so that it's exactly the same output as it already was, but with with the labels filtered. Right. Okay, so this is what, yeah, so this is why it works for you, because the SDC one happens to be the first in the list at this time.
It's the only one in the list without the SD card.
Okay. But for example, with if someone uses not SATA and they use NVMe, it could be N. Yes, in fact, if someone used NVMe alphabetically, it would appear first. N, yeah. The Slackware installer EFI partition would actually be would be formatted, and it would all break. So we do need to filter this out. Okay, so all I really want to do is just filter out the labels. Actually, actually this is much easier than I thought it would be. Because all I need to do is grep-v that, and it's done. Grep-v slk ints EFI, and then pipe that into grep like that. Boom! Easy. because this is never, SDC one's never going to have, well, actually, would it? No, it would never have the label SLK. No, even, oh, hold on though, it could have a label from before.
Yeah.
So if you reinstall Slackware, if we label it, then it would have a label. So perhaps we should not label it, and then we're fixed. Yeah. If we don't label this EFI partition in our post install script that you're going to write, then it will never have a label ever, unless someone goes and manually labels it, in which case don't do that. And I can simply use this here, and then we're done. That's the only change I need to make. I need to insert this into the set EFI script, minimal changes, and it will just work.
Very good.
God, that's taken us like 2 hours to figure that out, Brent.
I was trying to figure things out, in reverse. We're just like trying to remember what we did and stuff. Right. And remember some of the stuff I did like last year, so. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I've figured out. Okay, so I've made the change I wanted to do. We're not going to label this EFI partition. There's no point. We don't need to. And this, but our installer EFI partition will be labeled, and that enables us to filter it out of this, so it never gets offered as an EFI partition for the OS. Done. That was really easy.
Then the only thing left to worry about is after when you do a fresh install, it tries to create an FS tab.
Okay.
And so it'll add SDC1. But if you have more than one disk and you reboot, it may not always be SDC1 where a boot EFI is at when it mounts it.
Why is that? Hold on. So what? It makes this. Adds this entry to the FS tab. Yeah, this.
Yeah.
But why would that ever break? Because this is searching for UUID, so it's not about. It's an abstraction.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
It's never going to break.
Yeah. Never mind.
Unless it'll only break if you have two partition UIDs with this, but you shouldn't.
No.
Unless somebody doesn't remove the SD card from the machine.
No, it'll just filter out the install. No,
it won't because if you don't remove the SD card when you boot the machine, the SD card will also have this UUID partition on it.
Yeah.
And then it would actually break. So I wonder though, but perhaps I'll check inside of Slackware. Maybe somebody knows, Patrick or Alien Bob would probably know whether this is ever used. In other words, could we, in the post install script, could we actually substitute this with a label and call it label equals SLK EFI as we had originally planned?
Mm-hmm.
In which case, oh God, that's just making it too. That's kind of like over engineering it though, to be honest.
Yeah, just tell them to take the SD card out.
Yeah, just take. I'm trying to do the Microsoft on the users, aren't I? Do you really mean to do this? Because I'm gonna preempt everything you do because I think you're stupid.
Yeah.
No. Let's stop. Otherwise, it's going to be an over-engineering job. Okay, to me, this is enough. If it breaks, then it can be. All I need to do is really just label it. But let's just leave it for now. I think that'll do. Yeah. Yeah, you must remove the SD card. It's fine. Cool.
It's fine.
Right. Coolio. Right, so I've got my changes to set EFI. It's simply insertion of a single grep into the pipeline. And that's easy enough. There's minimal changes. I know it works. I've actually tested it. Awesome. I think so. Then the only thing we want to do is figure out how to make parted do stop asking about the that. How do we revert that back to how do we make it automatically fix it?
Oh, you mean when it enters it? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably something about how I'm making the partitions that it doesn't like.
Hold on.
Like the different sizes and the disk boundaries. I don't know.
There's probably a if the only thing is I can't fix it. I can't revert it now because I've already changed it. So it would have to be done on the image, the local image.
Yeah, and the SD card build.
Yeah, there's probably
Just
dash F. Right, so there's the answer. So there we go. FSA. That there we go. Done. Awesome. Right. So basically, there we go. That's what we love.
That was much simpler than I thought it was going to be. Oh my god.
Awesome. Is this on Dastardly? Oh yeah. So AC was it? Oh, platform Arc bootware SRC. What is it called? Platform LX. So can I do it here?
Pretty sure you could do it right after that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll make it, but then we'll fix it.
What is exactly is it that is actually doing?
It's marking the boot partition, the boot/EFI partition as type ESP for UEFI. Yeah. Yeah, I need to start adding more comments to things, really.
Oh, yeah, don't worry.
Just a bad habit.
I've lost what the I think I've got the wrong got so many windows open now. I can't remember where it was. Was it on Dastardly? Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? What was it? Wrong one. EFI. So if people have never looked at the installer before, they're getting like a really exciting look into the Slackware installer. Okay, and this is definitely a GPT layout, right? Or is it?
Yeah.
Yes, because you've marked it as GPT. Okay. Okay. UEFI. Boom. So okay. So right, I will. Oh God, I've put /dev/mmc_0. We can't have that. We need to put the correct. We need to do put that in there.
Yeah.
Make sure we've got the correct. Is it actually 1? Yes, so that's correct. So
It
it's
should be 1, yeah, P1.
1 as ESP, so that's correct. Coolio. All right. Okay. I think.
Yeah, I think that's all the stuff that I
Awesome.
have on my list.
Alrighty. So I think cat/var did the build thing. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So what we're going to do is I will just that actually did that. Oh, I suppose I should take these notes, really, shouldn't I? I'll save those notes later, and then we can. I can push this lot out, and you can have all of the latest updates. You can download them, because that way, if you rebuild the oh, do you need to rebuild the installer? Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? Because I haven't got a new kernel, so I haven't rebuilt the installer yet. But if you rebuild the installer locally, you should, yeah, you'd get everything that we've just done, and then you should see whether it works properly.
Yeah.
I can push this lot out, and then, you know, I was thinking about, you know, I don't know what you think. I was thinking, no, I've saved that lot already. Oh, it's picked it up twice for some reason. Oh, I see. Yeah, because it's got from. I was thinking about actually removing this here, because I put it in originally because I thought it was useful, but does it really matter that the mini root file system has been updated? I'm not sure it does really, does it? I might exclude this information.
Yeah,
It's kind
I
of
don't know.
superfluous, isn't it, really?
Well, I mean, people might be using it, but they can just download
They'll download it when they get it. Yeah, I'm going to cut that out of the thing, I think. I've been thinking about that for a while. There we go. Where did it actually run that thing? There we go. Oh, so I'd have to, yeah, dump that. Get rid of that crap there. Yeah. There we go, gone. No more mini root notifications. Boom. There we go, done. All right. Well.
Yeah, lots of stuff works now.
Push it out now. Right, Brent, we've made some good progress.
Indeed.
And I can log out of your HoneyComb now.
Yeah.
And yeah, great. Oh, yes. The only thing, no, I haven't finished, have I, Brent? Because
Oh God,
forgot about that. Source AC source installer, and then we need to go to pending upstream. What is that?
the P's?
It's what? The police?
No, the temp/PPPP.
Oh no, they're basically
that's
noises. No,
that's my AC kicking in. It's right above me on the couch in the living room.
Ah.
Here, let me can turn it off for a second.
I don't need to melt. All right.
Off in a second.
grep-v slk int cfi grep-ife audio.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I thought I'd put this somewhere. I've made a oh, hang on a minute. Oh, I've made a oh, I did. Okay, yeah. So basically, all I've done is I've just added that in here. So we filter that out of set probe thingy jiggy IFE. That should be that, and then just need just right at the bottom, isn't it? Really? This is some of the stuff that eventually. This is like some of the hacky workaround script. Whoa. Okay, here we go. Oh,
There we go.
cool. Oh no, because that set EFI does not live in /sbin, does it? No, it doesn't. It goes in user lib setup / that's where it lives. So once these have been tested, I can merge them upstream. Or ask Patrick to do it rather. So that's then we're done. So once I push that lot out, you'll have that in the private tree, and everything should.
So just run that make arm to.
However you do it, I don't even know how it works, to be honest. It's like well, everything's so scripted, but this is the ARM Slackware installer needs quite a bit of work to make it open sourceable, which is why it's not. But you've got it. You've run them before, haven't you? You've built the installer.
Yeah. I just can't remember if it's ARM/build or just
it is.
Okay.
You need to. Yeah, it is because it's running dbuild, so that's going to. Should probably do share as well. Yeah, you can just do that /ARM/build. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Or we can just run dbuild. Actually, that's all this does. And then it runs the SD. Yeah, this builds the installers, then runs the SD cards build script afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what that does. So that's what the finalized script does. So if you've got all of your Slack dev configured properly, then it'll just work anyway.
Okay.
Does for me. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, did I tell you? Because when you were away, I don't know if you noticed or not, but in the installer and in the OS initial RAM disk, I made a directory called tools and added these two scripts into it.
Yeah, I did see that. I haven't ran them yet, though.
Okay. It's just useful when you're onboarding new hardware models, so you can find which the modules are that support the drivers that you need. And then this load all module script basically loads everything that it finds in /lid/modules.
Yeah. And that's just in the tools directory for the installer.
And in the OS init RD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because this one comes from the kernel directory, which is in the where is it? It's SLK overlay. Yeah. So because the installer and the OS init RD it references the kernel directory and pulls all this stuff from there. So you've got it in both. So it should be quite useful.
I can probably use it on the HoneyComb to figure out the fan. I don't know what kernel module it needs or any of that.
Oh, okay.
Then I might actually be able to sit at my desk again. It's too loud.
Yeah, it was way too loud, wasn't it?
Helicopter machine.
Yeah, I know. That was crazy. All right, Brent, I'm going to push this lot out now to the internet and call it a day. But I think we've progressed significantly now. We think there's just that one. Well, it depends on how well the installer goes with the changes we've just made, but then it's pretty much just scripting up a post-installer script and then figuring out what to do with the grub stuff in terms of the config file. But that's kind of like it's not that important at the moment.
No, it'll just work and people can run grub install for now.
Yeah. All right. Grub install. Yeah, cool. All right, Brent. Good to talk to you, and I will speak to you again on IRC later on.
Okay, later.
Cheers, man. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.